babies at 55. Those are all egg donations. I know that a lady's ovarian, her eggs are degenerating. The age peak fertility is from about 21 till about 24, 25, and it degenerates after that. After 30, it's halves, so almost every year. By the time you get to about 38, 39, for a lady to get pregnant without any degree of infertility treatment it's like winning the lottery. And if you hit 40 plus, when you see someone got pregnant for the first time at the age of 40, assume it was egg donation. Alright? It does happen, but it doesn't happen. Alright? Yes, my mother had a baby at 42, but it was a number 9. Alright? So a lady's 38 or 37, she says, if I don't... Alright? There's no egg donation in Australia.
It's very rare.
Yeah, because it has to be altruistic. That means you can't pay them for it, and you see these terribly sad ads in the papers. You know, they're all read the same because they've got to be approved by the infertility treatment in Australia, and it's tragic. So a lady comes and said, "Look, I'm 36. If I don't have a kid now, I'm 38. If I don't have a kid now, I'm never going to have a kid, and I don't have a husband, I don't have a partner, and I want children." And this is not just being asked by. This is being asked by film ladies. This is being asked by, you know. The shidduch crisis impacts on from people as well, if not more. So can a lady have a child by IVF? Obviously, you know there's other ways to get pregnant, but here we're talking about specifically IVF. I was reading today a collection of tshuvas that this organisation I deal with in Eretz Pua, that they submitted this question to 10 or 12 of the greatest rabbis of today, asking that question. Fascinatingly, also halachically, there's probably less problems than, for example, a married lady getting herself pregnant by donor sperm or by surrogacy. Halachically, it's less problematic because you don't have the problems of mamzeros, you don't have the problems of adultery, you don't have the problems of... You've really got the problem of sperm procurement. However, here comes the issue of meta-ethics, meta-halacha. Is this something which we've discussed, that the family is so important to Judaism and yichus is so important to Judaism? So I put together a list and reading through these tshuvas, some of the pros which might suggest why certain halachic authorities might... By the way, of all the 10 authorities who answered, not one of them allowed it. Not one of them said it was acceptable. It was quite fascinating. You know, usually when you read halacha, you can always find someone who says yes. When it came to this, it was no matter what perspective they came from, it was not one of them could find themselves to allow.
But they do it.
Yeah, but there are.
They do it in Israel.
There are from women that do it.
Either they know other rabbis, or not every person asks a rabbi.
This poor place in Israel doesn't do it.
No. Poor, by the way, will do egg donor. Poor will do sperm donor. We won't, but poor will. But they won't do IVF for a single lady.
Where I was working
our own
eggs.
Right? Even using our own eggs. What would be some of the pros?
Just make a comment about that. When I was working out in the States, there was a lot of infertile people from, let's say, Williamsburg and all that, and they'd come to see us, and there were two key methods which were used in this case to get sperm. You'd either get it directly from the testicle or you do electroejaculation. And some of them would all consult with their rabbis and say, well, no, you can only do electroejaculation. Some would say, no, you can only do things. So,
and some rabbis would allow masturbation under the circumstances.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
And by the way, there's the fourth way, which is what's known as the sterile condom, which is what we'd be doing with them.
Yeah, but you'd have people who are so sterile, and they just go to the Rebbe, whatever their Rebbe says, that's what they're going to do, even if they're not that well informed. As in, like, the Rebbe, you know, the analogy we use was like they go to the Rebbe who's probably like a good communal Rebbe GP, but you really should go to like a puah or someone who actually knows the halacha in detail.
But that having been said, Puah won't asking for you. Puah is a fascinating organisation. What they do is, and this is quite common for them, they say, and when a lady asks a question, she doesn't know how to ask the question. She doesn't know the issues involved here, and not necessarily every time does the rabbi understand exactly what those issues are. So what they will do is they will they'll deal with that lady, spending the hours with her, getting the question, and they will go, for example, you're a Gera Chassid, I'll ask the Gera Posek. You're a Lubavitch, I'll ask the Lubavitch Posek. You're a Litay, I'll go ask the Yashiv. And we know the psakim for them, which is why they do this for a number of issues. They'll put together the 10 or 12 issues, and they'll know what the answer is for this circumstance. Listen, I'm not sure that I'm fully convinced that Pua, their priorities, they won't allow under any circumstances single ladies to get pregnant, whereas they will help a lady get pregnant by, and sometimes even effective for them, a married lady using an egg donor sperm. That having been said, the names of the people they're asking are quite incredible, quite impressive. You've got a current chief rabbi of Israel, 2 former chief rabbis of Israel. You've got Menashe Klein, who's one of the classic, probably the last of the great, all-rounders when it comes to psak. You're talking to, actually, it's 2 shuvas about that. Rabbi Yaakov Ariel is the great Sephardi rabbis. You got Dov Lior, who's of the Torah Mitzion. He's the rabbi now. Was Emmanuel, I think he is, right? It's quite an extraordinary thing, and not one of them could find that I said that the breach in the wall, if you will, of normative Judaism, of the familiar relationships, of the first of all, there's a halachic definition of a child, which is known as a shtuki, who doesn't know who the father is. So that's the question: is can we know who the father is? The potentials of devaluing leading to pritzes of promiscuity. The concept that unmarried ladies can get pregnant. Well, she did it through IVF. Someone else there's much easier and cheaper ways for unmarried ladies to get pregnant. The greatest of all these chuvas here, the one they spent the most time on was discussing for the good of the child. Do we have the right to bring a child into the world where there is not just, relationships break up, marriages break up, fathers die, but to at first instance to bring a child into this world without a father, with all the statistics showing what the needs of a child and the father. When we're cross-referencing the desires of a lady, and I'm not discounting those incredible desires, and that's incredible, and I can appreciate it and I can understand them, and I God forbid if someone's found themselves in that situation, right? But if you cross-reference that with the needs of the child, do we have the right to that degree of, and some of the words that they use is, I'm not even going to apologise for some of the words that they use would border on selfishness, no?
What would be against halacha?
Again, I said most of the arguments are from an ethical, moral, Jewish, family, rights of the child, right? It's not nearly as halachically problematic, I said, as the egg donor to a married lady or sperm donation to a married lady. There are people to discuss whether does one have a right to have a child, or is it a merit to have a child? If one does one's abilities, if you're not a kohen, for example, you're not judged for the fact you never did the mitzvahs that apply to a kohen. If you don't live in Eretz Yisrael, you're not judged for not having done those mitzvahs. Does one who's never partnered or hasn't had a child in time, do they have the right? The Rebbe, he wasn't talking about infertility per se, but the Rebbe, maybe it's a good place to finish off. When the Rebbe discusses the mitzvah and the shema, you should teach it to your children. The Rebbe actually defines it. He says some people don't have kids. So the fundamental of faith, right? You should teach it to your children. They just don't have that. They don't have that definition. And the Rebbe actually defines it, and so it's an incredible sikha. I actually wrote it up once. He defines that mitzvah is fulfilled by impacting on people's lives in a positive way for the future. If you have children, hopefully, those of us who are parents know that we try and impact on our kids, and hopefully in a positive way as well. But the imprint that you leave on you leave on the lives of the people that you come in contact with, the positive ramifications of your actions in this world, that's actually the definition. It's not like some kind of, if you can't have kids, therefore you can fill the mitzvah this way. The Rebbe actually defines the mitzvah, the shema, but you should teach it to your children. It's talking about spiritual children. It's talking about the effects you can have on others. Look, we've only touched the surface of what I think we'd all agree are incredibly complex and incredibly difficult situations. These are things that nobody should ever paskin based on a lecture, and they shouldn't even. They were talking about one-on-one in a controlled setting. Each person's case is different. Each person's application is different. And at the end of all that discussion, we've left with a number of, I think we could agree, quite good questions, and hopefully that those answers can be given to us very, very soon by Mashiach, who says that he's going to teach us, and that those children, which we will see the fruits and the impact that we've left on this world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank Rabbi Greenbaum. Obviously, like he said, we're left with many questions, but at least we're more educated in the field. If anyone has a personal, specific halacha question in this field that they're dealing with, as you see on the papers, Rabbi Greenbaum left his number there. You can call him. He's very accessible. He's very forthcoming. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming here, and thank you very much, Rabbi Greenbaum.
Always more questions and answers.
But it makes you realise the ramifications of things as well, and nothing's in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You came with a lot.
Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to read a really good book, it's about 5-6 years old, but this is a book on Jewish infertility. It's probably the best book in the trade. It's old. It's not new. Right? In fertility terms, it was printed in 2007. It's Richard Gratz. Something was printed in 2007 as like the dark age of fertility, but it's actually quite a fascinating problem.
So I'm I actually think of